Hey, what's going on, guys? We got a new genealogy banner. It includes Ares, Lene, and Ishtar. I'm going to go over their entire kit to give you guys an idea on how the heroes and their skills work. This video won't include any builds, but I'll try to insert some ideas throughout the video. And at the very end, I'll give you guys my summoning ranking for this banner. Let's start off with Ares, aka Eldigan Jr. He's a Red Sword Cavalier, and his stat line seems to have the same trend as most of the other Red Cavaliers in the game. Super high attack and defense, mediocre speed with terrible resistance. It seems like every Red Cavalier has that kind of stat line aside from Sigbert and Brave Roy. It's not a bad stat line. You can do a lot of things with it. You can invest resources into his speed and get it somewhere in the low 40s with home cavalry buffs included. If you do that, then he can perform alright on the player phase. You can also go enemy phase with him by boosting his defense even further with skills like close defense or a stance skill and run quick post with it. The last option is mixed phase, and you can achieve that by running Vantage, which might actually be his best B slot option. I'll get more into that in a little bit. His weapon is Dark Mistletoe. It accelerates special trigger, cooldown count -1, which is the quote unquote killer or slaying effect. If special triggers before or during combat, grants special cooldown count -2 after combat. Alright, some people were confused about this effect, but it's actually quite simple. This weapon should work with every special in the game besides Gale Force, I believe. AoE specials activate before combat. Damage and damage reduction specials activate during combat. And I think Gale Force is the only special that activates after combat. So let's say he activates Draconic Aura and KOs somebody. Then after that fight, Draconic Aura's cooldown will be reduced from 2 to 0. Something interesting to note is that since AoE specials activate before combat, the unit still gains special charges after activating the special. So let's use Blazing Flame as an example. It's originally 4 charges, so its cooldown is reduced to 3 because of Dark Mistletoe's killer effect. If Ares is able to charge Blazing Flame up and activate it on an enemy, then Blazing Flame pops before combat, then Ares performs an attack. That means Blazing Flame is already 2 charges at that point, so after combat its cooldown is reduced from 2 to 0. You can use Dance on him or whatever and he'll be able to continuously use his AoE special. Earlier, I said Vantage might be his best B slot option, and this weapon is the reason why. If you pair it up with a 3 charge damage special like Draconic Aura, after Draconic Aura activates, it will always be charged. Let me use this build to show you how memey this weapon is. Alright, so with this set, use Ares to attack into a red or green. If he gets doubled, then Deflect Melee will reduce the foe's second hit. Draconic Aura should be at 0 charge cooldown after combat, and he might be in brazen range as well. On the enemy phase, when a melee foe attacks him, Vantage and Draconic Aura activates, and it doesn't matter if he KOs or not because regardless, Draconic Aura resets back to 0. It becomes an endless cycle. If Ares doesn't kill with his special, then Deflect Melee and the defense boost from Brazen Attack Defense will hopefully be enough to allow him to survive a couple more fights. Anyways, let's move on to his other skills. His special is Draconic Aura, perfect special, but it does depend on IVs and other factors. With Dark Mistletoe equipped and using his base stats, he deals 15 with Draconic Aura and 16 with Bonfire. Other specials to consider are AoE specials and Aether. A skill is Brazen Attack Defense. Is great when used alongside Vantage. I know a lot of people are considering Distant Counter Vantage, which isn't a bad idea. B skill is a new Seal skill. It's Seal Defense Resistance 2. The B slot is just way too competitive. There's so many better skills in this slot that you shouldn't even consider using this skill. So yeah, I think he's great. He's the only unit with this kind of a weapon effect, well at least for now. I'm pretty sure Eldigan will be able to learn it later on. But yeah, it's just so unique. You can create so many cool and fun builds with it. Also, his stats are nice, skills are perfect for the most part aside from Seal Defense Resistance. Just overall a really solid Sword Cavalier. Best boon for him I think is either attack or speed. More attack allows him to be more of a threat with Vantage if you are planning on going with that sort of playstyle. More speed allows him to be more of a player phase threat. Best Bane, I'm going to have to go with Resistance. His resistance is already god awful. 58 base magical bulk isn't going to save him from speedy mages or Dragonstone users, so might as well dump res and avoid fighting magical foes altogether. Up next is another sword unit. It's Lene. She's a sword dancer and is actually our first sword dancer since launch. To me, stats really don't matter too much for dancers because all I do is use them for dancing, not for fighting. But if you want to talk about stats, I actually prefer if dancers have lopsided defensive stats because then I can just give them triangle depth and that allows me to manipulate AI easier in Arena Assault. Anyways, let's compare her with Olivia. Lene has 1 less HP, same attack, 4 less defense, 2 more resistance, and 1 less BST. Their stats are really similar. I guess you can argue Lene is better since she has higher speed, so technically she has better survivability, but Olivia of course has higher merge potential since she's summonable as 3 and 4 stars. I actually prefer Lene's stats because she has a lower defense stat. Like I said a little bit ago, that defense stat allows me to manipulate AI easier, especially if I'm using a team with another low defense unit. There's a total of 9 dancers in this game now. If you want to make your life easier, try to get 6 dancers for Arena Assault for rounds 2 through 7. That way you don't have to rip your hair out and try hard in Arena Assault every night. However, I highly recommend you learn how to win without dancers first before you decide to do that. Her weapon is Safeguard Plus. If foe initiates combat, grants defense plus 7 during combat. I think it's funny that this is an actual weapon because if there's a sword version of this, chances are IS will release a lance and an axe version as well. Tana's Vidofner is a unique weapon and is actually just a worse version of Safeguard because it doesn't grant 7 defense when the unit is attacked by a ranged unit. The only pro that Vidofner has over a lance version of Safeguard is for AI manipulation purposes against archers, but that's a topic for another time. Safeguard is great though. We all know how useful Berkut's lance is. Safeguard is basically the same thing except defense. There's 2 ways to use it. You can give it to someone who already has very high defense to boost it even further, like Hinata, Drog, Tobin, or Selena. You can also try to balance out someone's defensive stats. Longq has poor defense and resistance, but he has a lot of HP, so he's an interesting candidate as well. Assist skill is of course Dance. We all know how good Dance is. B skill is Firestorm Dance. It's a new B skill. If Sing or Dance is used, grants attack speed plus 3 to target. I don't think any of the Dancer B skills are worth considering just because Wings of Mercy is just such a great support skill for them. Wings of Mercy is just amazing for player controlled arena assault, defensive arena teams, and for PvE content. The buff from Firestorm Dance is a display buff, therefore it does not stack with other display buffs. Most teams have some sort of hone, tactic, or rally buff that targets attack and speed already, so Firestorm isn't that useful. C skill is Sword Valor. If you don't have Sword Valor yet, I would highly recommend that you pick this skill up. Can't really complain about a Dancer, even if the stats were garbage. A Dancer is just a Dancer. She does have decent stats, almost identical to Olivia's, arguably better. If you already have enough Dancers for Arena Assault, or you simply don't require Dancers to breeze through Arena Assault, then don't mind this unit. Best boon for her, I think, is definitely speed. Plus defense is a plus 4 super boon, and that gives her pretty decent mixed bulk. I would rather keep her defense low, but you might not. The best bane for her is HP. Last unit is the star of the banner, Ishtar, blue infantry mage, and she has an amazing offensive stat line. 34-36 offensive stats is like one of the best. She only has 1 less attack than Lindy, 2 less attack than Delthea, but Ishtar has 2 more speed. And she basically power crept her own auntie, Taotiu. I mean, it's your typical glass cannon stat line. A standard desperation set is probably the best set for her. If you want to go out of the box, then maybe some sort of wind sweep build is viable as well. She naturally doesn't have enough resistance to run ploy, so her main role is to be a player phase nuke and a team buffer. Her weapon is Molnir, accelerate special trigger by 1. If unit initiates combat, grants speed plus 6. Darting blow 3 in her weapon with a killer effect is ridiculous. With her default A skill, Swift Sparrow, she's granted plus 10 speed on initiation. That's crazy. With her base speed, she's hitting about 46 speed. That's equivalent to a plus speed plus 10 Blade Tome Nino with Fury. I'm pretty sure she's IV proof. Even if she has minus speed IVs, she's still hitting 43 speed without seals and team buffs, which is decent. If you get minus attack IVs, then she's still hitting 42 speed with Death Blow. Special is Moonbow. It starts off at 1 cooldown. Yeah, it's okay. Other specials to consider are Glimmer, Draconic Aura, and Luna. You can also run Aether or AoE specials with Heavy Blade Seal. A skill is Swift Sparrow, which is perfect, plus 4 attack and plus 10 speed on initiation. What more can you want? B skill is Vantage. It doesn't make any sense considering that her default kit has 2 player phase effects. I would swap out Vantage for Desperation. New skill is Odd Attack Wave. At start of odd number turns, grants attack plus 6 to unit and adjacent allies for 1 turn. Bonus granted to unit even if no allies are adjacent. So with her default kit, she can buff herself for plus 10 attack and plus 10 speed, but only on odd number turns, of course. Again, it's ridiculous. Let's talk about the skill specifically though. It only works on odd number turns, which I think is a problem for some arena maps. I have a couple in mind, one which is the boat map, and second which is the double wall map. On these two maps, there is a way to bait out and kill off enemies on the first enemy phase turn. I have a video for that, by the way. You can check it out in the description. Anyways, if you miss your chance to do so, then turn 2 is one of the most important turns on those two particular maps. Turn 2 is usually the turn where you have to start picking off units, or else you might end up getting swarmed into a corner. Any other map, I think this skill is fine though. Most maps gives the player enough room to maneuver around the map and stall for turns. Fun fact, if you give this skill to a Blade Tome user, then the Blade Tome user can buff itself and essentially grant themselves plus 12 attack. Ishtar is obviously really good. I think she's probably one of the best blue mages out there. Her weapon gives her so much room to work with in the other skill slots, and she'll continue to become even better as more skills are released. She's really cheap to build. All you have to do is give her Desperation and fill in the slots. The best pro is that she's IV proof. It's really easy to build around bad IVs. And speaking of IVs, best boons for her are attack, speed, and resistance. More attack is never a bad IV for an offensive unit with high speed. Even though she already gets a lot of speed from her weapon, I still think plus speed is a good IV for her. With plus speed IVs, she doesn't have to rely on speed buffs to double some enemies, so you have more flexibility with your team's C-slot skills. I said plus resistance is another good boon because it's a super boon that increases her res to 30. That's enough res to start using ploy abilities with Fury in the A slot, especially at higher merges. Best bane for her is probably resistance and HP second. All I find in Arena are armor emblem teams with distant counter and dragon emblem teams. So in order to maximize her survivability against those two archetypes, you gotta go with the -3 res bane. Both HP and defense are both -4 super banes. If I had to choose a bane other than res, then I would take HP. Alright, so here's my ranking. I have Ishtar at number 1, Lene at 2, and Ares number 3. Remember that this is my summoning ranking, so it's based on my account and my opinion. Ishtar is the obvious number 1 hero in the banner. Her kit is just bonkers. You can actually flip-flop Lene and Ares with each other. I just don't care for cavalry units, which is why Ares is number 3. I have multiple dancers already and sword valor, so Lene isn't that important to me. For new players, I would probably recommend the same ranking. Ishtar is just way too good. However, you could argue Lene number 1 for new players because if I didn't have sword valor, I would try to summon for sword valor over Ishtar, but that's just me. Overall, it's a pretty good banner. Strong heroes and has a decent amount of good skill fodder. There's Safeguard Plus, Swift Sparrow, Attack Wave, and Brazen Attack Defense. And that's going to be it for this video. I know you guys probably summoned already, so tell me who you got. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.